Hello, Jessica. I'm glad to see you back again today.
It's good to see you too.
How have you been doing since our last session?
I'm okay, not too bad. Same old thing, different day.
To reflect on our last session, we discussed your past and current relationships with your parents and your feelings about their health issues. I encouraged you to try and open up communication with your father since he's been away. How has that been going?
Well, he just recently got home last week, but I did speak to him on Thanksgiving.
And how did that go?
Well, at first I kind of really didn't want to talk to him because I was still mad at him about smoking, but it was Thanksgiving, so I had to say hi. My mom called my brother's house to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. She kind of forced me into talking to him, just handed me the phone. But the conversation went well. I mean, whenever we talk on the phone, it's always a little awkward because he's not really a big talker, but he was asking me about what we were doing for Thanksgiving because it was just my mom, my uncle, and I at my house. And I asked him if he was still smoking, and of course he said yes.
What was your reaction to that?
I was disappointed, but I mean, I expected it.
Were you able to discuss that with him?
Well, this is the first time he's really admitted to me that he's smoked in months, and he kind of sounded a little ashamed about it. But I know he was probably just faking it, and we talked about him needing to stop because I'm worried about his health, and he agrees, but I know he just says it to please me.
How can you be assured that he's actually faking it? Tell me more about how this is affecting your feelings.
Well, he always does this. He knows we don't approve of him smoking, especially now. He had cancer, and you're still, you're fine. You have a second chance, and now you're gonna just smoke again. He just does it anyway. He pretends that he cares, and he says that he'll quit, but then he sneaks cigarettes and does whatever he wants anyway. I brought up the whole electronic cigarette for him to try to quit, and he sounded like he would actually do it, so that was one thing I was kind of happy about.
You seem to have a slight bit of positivity about your dad, and at least him being interested in wanting to use the electronic cigarette. You also said that he came home last week. What has been the progress so far since he's been home?
Well, I mentioned the whole electronic cigarette thing to my mom, and she said that he actually already has it because my aunt gave it to him, but he hasn't used it, so. But he came home on Monday, and I didn't see him until Saturday because I've been at my apartment, so I kind of just spent the day with him. We had a family birthday party, and he says he hasn't smoked, but who knows really. He still isn't driving, so the only way he would have them is if he had some left over from my brother's house, but who knows. I'll be home more often over winter break, so I'll be able to see for myself then.
When you go home, try not to talk about the smoking issue and keep things more positive. The communication between you two will benefit from leaving these types of issues out of the conversation.
I'll try, I guess.
Now, how are things going with your mom? Last time we spoke, you had mentioned that you were upset about her MS and how things were going to work out now that your situation at home has now changed.
Our relationship lately has been pretty good. I mean, when my dad was away, she had a little less stress. She didn't have to take care of him all the time, so she was more calm. I saw her over Thanksgiving break and again this weekend at the birthday party, and I could tell she really missed me.
I'm glad to see that your relationship with your mom has been improving. Tell me more about that.
Well, while I was home, we kind of just spent a whole day together, and we went shopping for clothes for my new job, and she took me out to dinner to her new favorite place, and it was really nice. We talked a lot about our home situation and my grad school stuff, and I asked her if we were going to have to sell the house because I know they mentioned it, and she said she's going to try everything in her power not to, so I hope that goes well.
What about grad school? I know that last time we spoke you were stressing out about it.
Well, I think I decided that I'm going to take a year off before I go ahead and apply.
How did you come to this conclusion, and more importantly, how are you feeling about taking that year off?
Honestly, I'm feeling so relieved. I always said that I didn't want to take a year off because I didn't think I would ever go back, because just the freedom of not having to do the schoolwork all the time, I wouldn't want to get back into it because I've seen so many of my friends they either don't go to college right away after high school and they're still trying to get their associates, and I'm working on my bachelor's. but I don't know, it's just, I think, a year off is just really what I need.
You say you would never go back if you took the year off, but now that's exactly what you were doing? What are you going to do this year in order to make sure that you do go back?
Well, at this point, I don't really have a lot of confidence that I would even get into any of the OT programs around here, so I kind of just want to, build up my resume.
Tell me more about that.
Well, I really need to build my resume. Oh, sorry, hold on 1 second. I'm, choking over here. Well, I really need to build up my resume, as far as work experience and, other requirements for, all the different kind of programs.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm either going to, either have to live at home. Well, I know I'm going to have to live at home because I have to save money. So my only real options for school is Stockton or any schools in Philly because it's basically all there is around me. Rowan doesn't have a program. Rutgers-Camden doesn't have a program. And there's nothing in Delaware that's, a close enough drive.
Mm-hmm.
So everything's, just so competitive. And where I'm at now, I don't think I have much of a chance. And I'm going to try to get a job at a rehab facility so I can, work in the environment and get some observation hours in. But I also have another option for the year. My mom's friend offered me, I saw her when I came home for the birthday party. She was at my house, and she had talked to my mom about the job opportunity she had for me. It's she's works with family. So it's Atlantic County Family Service Association. She
Mhm.
works with displaced kids, and she's going to try to get me an interview as a case manager in Atlantic County so I can get experience working with kids. And since it's a state job, I'll get benefits and I'll get paid a salary of $30K a year, she said.
Wow.
And if I eventually get into the Philadelphia University OT program, which I'm really hoping for, I'll be able to keep the job because the classes are on weekends.
You sound really excited to take this new step in your life on your own terms.
Yeah, I really am. My dad wants me to take the job. As soon as, she told me about it, he was take it, take it, take it. But my mom didn't seem as enthusiastic about it.
How do you feel about that?
I think my mom's more just worried about me going back to school and doesn't want me to settle, where my dad, on the other hand, has always settles because he's lazy and doesn't really want to do any work. And it's kind of how my brothers followed in his footsteps. I'm the first one that's going to graduate college. They all dropped out because they didn't feel like doing the work. And I don't think I'll settle, though. Case management isn't what I want to do forever. It's just something to get me on my feet. And I mentioned it to my one brother, Eric, and he seems supportive. I haven't mentioned anything to my oldest brother, Carl, yet because he's currently in a career transition. And I know that Chris would have been 100% behind me.
Chris, that's your brother that passed away, correct?
Yeah, 4 years ago.
From our last session, I wanted to go more into detail about your brother's passing and how you believe it has affected you in your current relationships with your other members of your family.
Well, I was a senior in high school when it happened, and it was really sudden. He was only 32 years old, and at that time in my life, I was probably the happiest I've ever been. I had, the greatest friends, my first job, a boyfriend I spent all my time with, and the family was really getting along for the most part, but once my brother died, everything just kind of flipped.
I'm wondering if the suddenness of the passing is what caused such chaos in your family rather than his passing in general.
Kind of, I guess. I mean, we never expected him, of all people, to commit suicide. It's never happened in our family before, and we didn't really know how to handle it. I mean, thank God I had so many people there for me. My family's huge, and I don't know how else I would have handled it.
I would like to hear more about how you dealt with it at first.
Well, when I first found out, my mom's brother picked me up from work at the beginning of my shift, and he took me home. I saw my dad and neighbors sitting on my porch, and I didn't really think anything of it because, we're close with our neighbors. We always hang out with them, and I knew Chris was missing that day, no one could get a hold of him, and since my brother and dad were worried, they didn't want me to go to cheer practice or work, but, it was Columbus Day, so it was, kind of during the day. We didn't have school that day, so we practiced, and I had to go. I was one of the captains. The homecoming game was coming up. We had a lot of work to do, and I had just started my new job a month before. I couldn't not go already, especially, like, I couldn't just call out. But before I got out of the car, he broke the news to me that Chris had killed himself, and I was just, like, instantly crushed. I could barely walk up to my house. They had to carry me. My mom was in North Carolina visiting my sister-in-law and my niece, so she had no idea that anything was happening, and neither did my oldest brother, Carl, because he was on a deployment in Iraq. So the whole night was just kind of full of friends and family coming over to check up on us and ignoring constant phone calls from my mom. I guess she had like that mother instinct that something was wrong. She kept calling and calling all of us, but we wouldn't answer because her brother and sister were driving down there to tell her the news in person.
Wow, I am sorry to hear about all this happening to you. After these few years, though, you sound less saddened to talk about it. In what ways have you coped to help get you through this traumatic event?
Well, it was definitely traumatic. I mean, I had a really hard time for a few months, especially in school. My best friend Britt, her mom had killed herself 2 years before, so I had her to talk to and confide in because she knew exactly what I was going through.